Okay, looks like recording. It's out of focus though. Hello, there we go. Okay, hello. My name is Daniel, and today I want to go over my GameCube games. I love the GameCube. I want to emphasize the importance that the GameCube had on my childhood, mostly because it was my first ever home console. Now, for those of you who don't know, I recently started video game collecting. However, obviously I'm on a budget, I'm on limited space, so I've decided to hone in on disc-based collecting. A lot of people are really into the more retro stuff with NES and Super NES, and while the GameCube is considered retro now, and the PS2 and that whole generation is getting older and older as time goes by, that is what I grew up on. That's what is special to me. So I thought it'd be cool to just look at the games that I've collected over the years. A few handful titles I have are games that I've picked up recently just because at some point I sold my pretty much entire GameCube collection at GameStop to get a DS Lite back when I was just a mere lad. So unfortunately that means I cannot show everything, and a lot of the games that I ended up selling, I ended up repurchasing very recently, within the last year or two on PlayStation 2. I've transitioned over to the PlayStation platform from PS1 to PS5 currently for pretty much my bulk of my gaming, but the Nintendo platforms obviously have their own unique games, right, to say the least, from the GameCube all the way up to the Nintendo Switch. And I mean, I wish if there was one cartridge-based system I could collect for, I would probably go with the Nintendo 64, just because I feel like that is such a weird time to be a Nintendo fan, right? The Nintendo 64 was the craziest leap in technology, but it also didn't do that great in comparison. And with the 64, the GameCube did even worse, right? So I love the GameCube, and I just want to share my love with that. So let's get into it. So we're going to start with the games that I play the least and work our way up to the games that I, remember fondly and visit frequently. But that doesn't mean just because there's a game that I, don't play often, that doesn't mean I don't love it. This isn't a competition of worst to best. It's more of just a, I love that game, but the replay value might not be there as much. I just have it because of the memories that it holds for me. This game, however, falls in none of those categories, and that is Shrek II. Shrek II, I remember picking this game up for my ex-girlfriend because she wanted to play a video game, and she was really into Shrek, as most people are, right? Yeah, I picked this up, and it's okay. It's a good little platformer. It isn't really anything special, so I've only played this game for maybe a couple hours at most, and it just isn't one of those things that, I don't really have anything to say about it, so I think probably just move on. So this game probably should have just actually been before Shrek, because I've never actually played this game. I don't know how it ended up in my collection. Maybe a friend, I think it might have been a friend's game. They lent it to me because they were like, hey, you want to try this? And I just, okay, sure, I'll try it. But that is Reckless, the Yakuza missions. This is simply put a game. It is a game. It is a game I have not played. I have literally nothing to say about this. So if you have any memories with this, let me know. It's not very expensive, so I know that it's not that popular with people, I guess. But which is funny because one of my favorite game series is Yakuza, right? So, or Yakuza, or whatever, however it's pronounced, forgive me. And one of the first games I ever got for my PS3 was Yakuza Dead Souls, I believe it is. So I understand that this is more of a driving game than obviously anything else. Maybe something more keen to Twisted Metal or Taxi, something like that. But other than that, I haven't really done much with it. This next game, however, is a game that I really love this game. I never play it because it was mostly for my brother. My brother at the time was really into Sonic, and literally, if he wasn't playing Pokemon on his Game Boy, he was playing Sonic on my GameCube. And his #1 favorite game to this day, I still own, will not get rid of this, and I actually want to get the sequel, is Sonic Riders. Now, I love this game. It's actually really fun. It's a cool little racing game, a lot of cool power-ups and such, but ultimately, it doesn't hold the memories unless you're playing it in multiplayer, which we used to do a lot. So, you know, when I pop this in, it's less of a remembering the good times and more of a reminder that it's not the good times anymore, unfortunately. But I still, you know, in the off chance, my brother's in a different state now. If he ever visits, if we ever get together, this is the first thing we're gonna be doing, I guarantee you that. Now, with Sonic Riders, I will admit that he used to kick my butt a lot in those games. We'd race, we'd do the thing, and I was just not great at the game. I had a blast, I had a lot of fun, and I went back and played it recently, and I think it was just a lot of incompetence. Even though he's younger than me, I didn't really grasp the full controls that game offers. So, as payback, something to get even, naturally, is some good old Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor Frontline is probably my favorite of all of the Medal of Honor games. It's probably tied, if anything, with Medal of Honor Rising Sun, but I'm more keen to the D-Day introductory mission versus the Pearl Harbor introductory mission, mostly because Saving Private Ryan is one of my favorite all-time movies, so it's really hard to beat that. But Medal of Honor Frontline, the GameCube edition, or version, fun fact, is the only version of this to actually include multiplayer. I recently picked up the game again on PS2 because I am trying to convert my collection over to PlayStation for big third-party games, etc. And I was disappointed. So I keep this copy specifically because if my brother were to visit, once again, after he probably inevitably beats my ass on Sonic Riders, you bet Medal of Honor Frontline is what's coming next. And yeah, we'll probably both suck because I went back and played this recently. It does not age well, that's for sure. So the next game is another one that was for my brother. I've never really been into this franchise as a whole. But this specific game and whatever they were trying to do with the IP during this era, TMNT, they did it right with this one. Now, my brother, I remember the copy we originally had way back in the day was scratched, so we could never get past a certain point, and that was really sad. So we ended up selling it a while back at a GameStop and haven't thought about it ever since. But this new retro game store I've recently discovered nearby, I saw this and they had it on sale for I think about $10 or $15, and I just couldn't. I saw it, I looked at the disc, it was in immaculate condition, and this game right here I will be playing through. Like, I loved this game, and I am determined to forever finish this game that we couldn't. TMNT, absolute fantastic game. Like, it is, I'm not a huge fan. I recently played the Cowabunga collection. I recently played Shredder's Revenge, I believe it is. And I used to play the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, right, at Pizza Hut, for example. It was always next to the Simpsons arcade game. And I mean, obviously this is a different thing, more or less, than one of those beat 'em up sort of games, but this is, I love this game, I really do. So the next game is actually something I picked up just some odd months ago, and the only reason I got it is ultimately I'm really into the sports games, the Mario sports games, and specifically tennis, but I did dabble with golf here and there, and I enjoyed it. So I saw this at a just thrift store. This is one of those rare finds, right? You see those videos all the time of people finding those huge golden finds at Goodwill or whatever. This was it for me. This is the only game I've been able to find at a thrift store that is actually worth, like, oh my gosh, that's exciting, $3. I got this game, $3, and not only is it complete in box, but it has the receipt from whoever it was that bought this way back, brand new. This is this receipt from the person that bought this game, or pre-owned actually, bought it pre-owned at a GameStop. I imagine someone bought this brand new, didn't really like it and returned it almost immediately because the purchase date of this on the receipt is like a month after this game released. I really do like the golf games. I really want to try that one on the Switch, where the rush mode and stuff. I forget what the game is called, but this is cool. It gets that little golf itch. You know, I'm more into the tennis games specifically, but this one, it's pretty damn good for being a golf game on the GameCube, if I'm being honest with you. I was going to do these individually, but I feel like it's really difficult for me to choose just one, mostly because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And if you're a huge Star Wars fan and you know you like the GameCube, then it's probably obvious that these two games have to be on the list. But for the longest time, I owned both of these for the longest time. And then I ended up selling Rogue Leader because Rebel Strike had the multiplayer co-op version of Rogue Leader on the disc, right? So that's cool, but it's co-op, right? And this game is very difficult for somebody to just pick up and play. And Rebel Strike is cool. I really love the fact that you could run around with a lightsaber and, you know, on Hoth, for example, when you're fighting the walkers and stuff. But overall, like, this game is not the game. This is good, but this is better. And Rogue Leader for me is the game that I'd rather pick up and play, just because, especially with Rogue Squadron that just came out on PS4 and Xbox One and all that, I tried playing it and it made me just want to play this. But I couldn't play this because all I had was this. So at Retro Game Store, again, came in clutch with this, and I believe I was able to pick this up. Complete in box, near like immaculate condition. It's a really great store. This was only $17, and I was over the moon when I saw this because I regretted selling it pretty much the week after I did. But these two games, you can't go wrong with either one. It's just this one is going to be the better one. Though I will admit, I think the controls in Rebel Strike are a little better, but you know, that's more preference than anything. So for the next few games, they're going to be anticlimactic. None of these games are going to be special or, you know, unique in that sense. These are games that I believe everybody with a GameCube collection should have, would have, could have. These games arguably are not rare in any sense of the means, but Super Smash Bros. Melee is a game, and some of you might be mad. I'm not a huge Smash Brothers fan to begin with. I love the game, it's a great party game, and Melee and Brawl are... I never got into the Wii U Switch version, right? I do own the Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, but there's something about Melee and Brawl that just, probably because I have the most memories with them, and learning anything new, right, after the age of 25 is just a no-go. It's just a psychological fact. Don't fact check that, it's true. But this is great. I love this game, but there are games that I prefer more in the first party obvious lineup of games that people should own. I love it. It's great to throw on. Instead of Mario Party, it's Smash Bros. At my place, unless it's the new Mario Parties on the Switch. Those will be forever the best in my opinion. I know, I said it, I don't like older Mario Party games. There's not much to be said because everything has been said before. It's a great game. If it's not in your library, pick it up. Even if you don't love Smash Brothers, if you're gonna pick up any one Smash Brothers game, even if you're not a fan of it, just to be like, hey, I have the option to play a Smash Brothers game if any reason ever comes up, I would argue Melee is the best. But I could see Brawl being a great alternative, so, you know, here you go. Some of you might be wondering, well, how the hell are you going to follow up with after Smash Bros, right? That being arguably, to a lot of people, the best game on the platform for Nintendo GameCube. I would digress, and so would my mother. And if you know, you know. Animal Crossing. This is hard to beat. It is quirky, it is fun, it's a forever game. It is literally something you can play forever. Should you be? That's a different question, obviously. I don't play this actively. I do play it maybe a few times a month at most, because other games exist. This is not an easy game to really get into, especially if you've played a lot of the newer games. This will feel so bare bones, though I know some would argue that this probably has more features than New Horizons. So, I mean, you know, there's that going for it. But ultimately, the memories I have with this game, playing with my mom, my brothers, just, you can't ever take that away, right? That is something that you just, I think about, like, trying not to get emotional, you know, but when you have those memories, family game night, when you have those memories with your favorite people, and you gather around the couch, right, around the TV, around the table, whatever it may be that you're doing, it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you're doing it with, and this is the thing that would bring us together like nothing else, right? We'd all take turns doing our characters and you know, wait for each one to do their thing and the next one, and we'd be all eager to watch, making sure no one's stealing our buried treasure and, you know, the bells we've buried, and picking our fruit because we'd all have our own little tree near, it was a good time. And Animal Crossing for me, while not top of the list, simply because it's really hard to go back to, if I were to play any Animal Crossing game, I really think New Leaf on the 3DS would be the best one to play actively. Yes, even over New Horizons, but it's really hard to go back and play this because, like Sonic Riders, like Medal of Honor Frontline, it's the memories that were there, not really the game that was there, if that makes sense. So this game is a lot of people I know probably have it, and to them it's just another Animal Crossing game. But to me, this is everything, you know. And I still have the memory card in my GameCube. Actually, I don't have it in the case, but it's a good game. Check it out. I am cheating with this one simply because I don't play it on my GameCube. I do play it on the Switch, but I have it for GameCube, and if all the games in the GameCube, right, this is definitely near the top. I do play this very often. Super Mario Sunshine, I don't understand why people don't like this game. I really don't get it. I'm not saying it's better than Mario 64. I'm not saying it's, you know, significantly worse than Mario Galaxy, but it's a good 3D Mario game. It really is. Like, I couldn't imagine having Mario Galaxy and Odyssey and all of those in my library and not having Super Mario Sunshine. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's a fun game. It's a great game. It's there's nothing wrong with it. I think people were just expecting more, right, at the time, from Nintendo's latest and greatest, and obviously future games easily overshadow this one. So if you're looking at it in that perspective, I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree. I think that this is a solid game, and I think it's 110% worth a playthrough a few times at least. I really do. But I love this game. If you haven't played it yet, it's very easy to find the 3D All-Stars collection floating around on the internet for not expensive at all, because Nintendo just shot themselves in the foot with that, printed a bunch of copies expecting people to go crazy for it. But the GameCube version is great. I do think that the game is better on the Switch. Obviously, just frame rate, visuals, controls, everything. Though arguably the GameCube controller, right, it's most comfortable controller ever, so they say. But Super Mario Sunshine is, I think, a keeper. Don't let anyone tell you different. Okay, we are on the top three. My top three Nintendo GameCube games. And I already got all the major first-party releases out of the way, except for one. But before we get to that one, this is going to be a really weird entry, but it's my childhood, okay? Ed, Edd and Eddy, The Misadventures. I spent so many hours as a kid watching this show, playing this specific game. They don't make children's games anymore like they do. Like, this is great. It still is great. The visuals can be a little fuzzy, mostly because I've been playing my GameCube on an HD TV. I'm sure if I put it back on a CRT or something, it would be fantastic. But this is, it's amazing. It's a really great game. It's a little wonky. Controls can be a little finicky. Obviously, I'm not gonna pretend, sugarcoat it and say it's perfect, but it is super fun. It has that kind of humor that is just not allowed anymore. So there's that going for it. And it's great. I spent a lot of hours, and I still play it. I spent a lot of hours as a kid, and I still play it to this day. So if you haven't picked this up, if you've never heard of it, I think it's an amazing game, and I think it is definitely worth checking out. Even better, Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules. Now, this is one of 2 Fairly Odd Parents games I own. I own this one on the GameCube, and I own some other one on PS2. Not one I prefer. I prefer this one. And ironically enough, the first time I played this game was actually not on the GameCube. My mom somehow got a copy of it for PC. And the PC game and this one are completely different. And I prefer this one. After playing, we picked this up on GameCube because my mom was tired of me sitting in her room on her PC all the time. So she's like, here, let me just get you the GameCube version. And it wasn't at all the same, but I didn't notice at the time, right? I was just a kid trying to have some fun, 9, 10 years old, whatever. And I love it. And because I spent so much more time with this than the original one that I fell in love with initially, this is the one I stuck with. This is the one that holds those memories for me, and it is great. The whole premise of the game is fantastic. You go around doing all the different tidbits, right? All the little bits and skits from the show. It brings everything to life, and they handled in a really great way, right? Seeing these characters in that 3D world at first was very jarring, but they did it really well. Like, it grows on you very easily and feels very natural after the first few minutes of you being like, whoa, what 3D Timmy. And mind you, I played this well before the Jimmy Neutron crossover. Remember when crossovers were a thing? That was weird. But hey, this is a great game. I recommend picking it up wholeheartedly. It's really good. And for the #1 spot on my list of my favorite GameCube games, it is a game that I only recently, literally within the last 6 months, got to play for the first time in my life. This game eluded me for years. I didn't get into the franchise until it was on the Wii. No, that's not true. The Nintendo DS. But the Wii version was obviously that spike for it, because everyone owned a Wii more so than they owned a DS, shockingly, right? With that said, Mario Kart DS, Mario Kart Wii, I never even knew this game existed until after those ones. Mario Kart Double Dash. And at first, the premise of it, when I did learn about it, the premise of Mario Kart Double Dash kind of turned me off. I was like, two players, right? Like, it felt weird. It didn't look right. At the time, I mean, my first experience with Mario Kart ever was playing Mario Kart Super Circuit on a Game Boy Advance in a Wells Fargo. Like, it had a little kids kiosk thing set up with Game Boy Advances. I am a huge Mario Kart fan. It's like my #1 game on all Nintendo platforms. On the Wii, I've did everything there is to do. Fully unlocked, 3 stars, gold trophies, all the coins that across every Mario Kart game that ever existed, except this one. This one I'm still working on, and once I get through the Booster Course DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I will be going back and working through this one. But yeah, Mario Kart Double Dash is one of those games that I genuinely just was not able to get my hands on it, and every time I see it in like a GameStop, it'd be well after the GameCube was out. I believe the last time I saw this in a GameStop, it was near the launch of the PS4, and this was still going for like $40 at a GameStop. And I remember at the time, right, this was at the point where I had to make my own money, had my own paychecks, right, I had to juggle bills, whatnot. It was really tough to sit there and say, oh, well, the new Call of Duty's coming out, but Mario Kart Double Dash is 90% of the cost. I'm not good at math, don't check the math on that, but you get my point, right? It's like, this is pushing the limits of a Call of Duty game, and it's not the next Call of Duty that I'll be able to play with my friends. yeah, well, I'm a different person now, and I've fixed my mistake, and this is, without a doubt, my favorite, #1 absolute, just, if I could keep any one game, it would probably still be Animal Crossing just because of the memories. But hey, it was a good one, I promise. Okay guys, thank you for going through the crap show of my GameCube games. If you have any recommendations, I know there's a lot of games out there. My GameCube collection is very small and I would like to add more to it. Not games that I just, you know, just to have, but games that I know there's gems out there that I've never heard of or gotten to play. Every day, if I watch a video, right, every day I'm coming across new games and I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. A lot of the games, I do have a lot of GameCube games that I used to own on GameCube, but I now own on PS2. I own, I think, probably like 30 or 40 PS2 games that I originally as a kid had on GameCube, or, you know, growing up owned originally on GameCube at some point. So, you know, there's a lot out there that isn't the full story of my GameCube experience, but it is the best part of it in my opinion. So thank you for watching. Drop a like, subscribe. I'm really close to 1,000, so if you guys could just hit that red button, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.